Hello. Today I will give you a sneak peek and a little behind the scenes look of Messenger Pack, how it works and pretty much how I created it. I'm not going to give you full details on how it was created, but I will give you a little bit of a peek and see some of the functions that it comes with. All right, so let's get started. Let me give you a little quick play here. So you can see how it works. I added different ways to animate it in, a way to control the bounces. So either it has a lot of bounce or a little bounce at the beginning or no bounce at all. I also have some background elements that you can customize and control. And I have different variations of that background, and you can also scale it any way you want. And also have different avatars that you can control. And I also added some animation outs to the messenger. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to give you a quick little peek at the controls. As you can see, there is only two. Look for it here, Messenger Pack. There's only actually two generators for this. So with one generator for the Messenger Pack bubble, you can add media, you can add your text, you can customize the colors. You can see all the controls. You can add a build in, build out. You have the position of the tip, and that will control the animation in. So depending on where the tip is, you can see tip left. Actually, let me show you this one here. Tip left, you can control where the tip happens. You can also control the kind of animation, how much bounce it happens at the beginning of the animation. You can also control different kinds of animation outs. You can also, I'm going to see if I can add a few more in here. You can also control how much bounce that has. If you want no bounce, you can bring it down to 0, bring it all the way to 100. I am going to create a more detailed tutorial. I just wanted to create a little sneak peek so everybody can see how the progress is going. You can also control the text, so you can either have the text typing on or not type on, or type on after the bounce or after the animation happens. This is where you can add your heading text. If you want a heading text over the top, you can add it in here. Also, the tip control, you can add different kinds of tips. I have pointy, that points to the avatar. I have curvy. I have corner tip horizontal. I have corner tip vertical, and I also have a no effect at all. So oops, I have to go in there and fix that. So this is still in beta. I'm still testing everything out. So I just have to go in there and fix that none to turn that off. Okay. Actually, since we're doing a beta here and trying to learn something, let's go in there and show you how we do it. So I'm going to change that pin type to pointy. So I'm going to go into motion. I'm going to go to my rigging controls. So I'm going to go to tip type. And I'm going to go to none. And so for that one, it is working. So I have to make sure to bring all of them down to 0. So now everything should be, whenever I move to none, everything should work as expected. So I accidentally left this one at 800. So now it should work. So I can just save. And next time I launch Final Cut X, you'll see that working. And you can see that working now. If I drop a new effect in, and we go into tip type, oops, tip type, see if it's none. Now it shows, it goes away. And that's it. So I just fixed that there. Okay. And let's see what else I have added. You can control the roundness of the bubble. You can either have no roundness or increase the roundness. We can adjust the scale of the messenger by X and Y. And this was the tricky part. And this is why I had to do it many times, because I not only wanted the animation to happen from the corner that the tip type is positioned, but I also wanted that tip type to stay at the same size. So I couldn't just apply just a regular scale. I had to apply a scale to a rig that apply the scale to the rectangle, but also move this point up or down depending on the type of point. So with the curvy one, it's a little more tricky since I had to match it to the end, but without changing the size of that curvy, excuse me, of the tip. Also, you can control the opacity of that bubble, and also have some shadow presets if you want to add a little bit of a shadow. Long top, long bottom. So I have different shadow types. Also, I have a global scale if you want to adjust everything together, and the position of the X and Y. So if you want to adjust the position of the X and Y, you can do that as well. And I added some position too as far as rotation. I think I'm going to go in there and add a rotation to the Z as well. So you can actually rotate the angle of it. So I'll go in there and I'll rotate that, give it that rotation as well. Also, we have avatar controls. So we have different styles. Let me bring this back to 0. And I have a circle, star, rectangle, heart, diamond, and none at all. Okay, so so I also controlled you can adjust the position, the scale of that avatar, its position, and the pan as well. Okay, I also have the way control the color of the outline, and you can also add an opaque color. If, for example, you had a drop zone that has an alpha channel, you can turn on the opaque, and then you can add whatever color you want behind it, or you can just leave it off and it can be a full transparent. I also added a media control, so if you want to add your own media, you can. So let me go to the last one since I already have it set here. So if I turn it off, and then you can turn the media on, and when you turn the media on, it gives you a matte, which is that little matte in case you want to put your text over it. You can add whatever media you want, and then you can just go and adjust the scale of that drop zone, whatever you want. And the cool thing about this generator, this text generator, is that everything is in one generator. So you don't have to apply different ones to get different looks. It's all in one. So if you want the media, just turn it on and then to position it any way you want, and everything else works exactly as it should, including the animation. Pretty much anything. So, oh, and also we have you can control the color of the fill, where you want the matte to appear, if you want it to be in the top, the bottom, both, or no matte at all. And you can also control the scale of that matte. So if you want it bigger or smaller, it's up to you. And that's pretty much it. So now I'm going to go inside of Motion and show you what took me so long to create this template. I really thought it was going to be a simple template. I was actually going to add more things to it, but as I started working with it and getting more involved in it, I started finding some complications in making it, because I wanted the animation to start. For example, what I wanted here, I wanted the animation to start from the corner of wherever that tip is. And that was actually a little tricky to do, because I wanted not only to happen from that corner, so if I change it to this other corner, I wanted the animation to happen from there. So let me show you here. If I go into, let's say I go into top left, you see the actual animation happens from that. So I had to control the anchor points of where that happens. And the trick I found to do to make this happen is to create four different versions with 4 different anchor points of the actual pack. So you can see here, I have 1 version, 2 versions. I had to link them all together as far as colors. And then I had to rig each one as far as the positioning of the tip together with the scale. It's a little hard to explain, but it was actually really hard to figure this out. But as you can see, I have a lot of rigs in here, and some of these rigs are actually pretty complicated. So for example, if I go into the positioning, you can see all these different parameters that have to be adjusted for each position. So I have to turn on the headshots depending on where the position is. Had to change. And the way I did the headshot, it was actually really simple. It's a cool little trick. And the way you do that is I created one master headshot, which is this one right here, what I muted. See, that's the master headshot. And then I created a clone layer, make a clone layer of this. So when you make a clone layer, anything I do to this group will get affected to my clone layer. So you can see all these are my clone layers. So in case of me duplicating, instead of me duplicating this 4 times and then I decide to change something, for example, I wanted to add, later on I decided to add different outlines like the diamond, the hearts, different shapes. All I had to do was do it once, rig it once, and then these over here would automatically adjust to it. It references off this master. So this master controls all of these clones, which is a real big time saver, and I highly recommend you look into creating clones, as it really can save you time and it gives you a lot more flexibility, especially when you create templates like these. So that's what I did. Also, the other one that was really tricky was the scale. As you can see all these different parameters just to control the scale on the X, and all these parameters to control the parameters on the Y. And the reason for this is because I had to change the position of the text, the position of the actual, see, when you actually scale, not only is it scaling, seems like it's going a little slow here, probably because I'm recording at the same time. As I change the scale, not only is the scale changing, but I also have to keep it centered. So it's not only is the scale changing, I also have to change the position of this curve. So it goes with the scale, and I also have to change the position. I quit the my breaks thing for 2 hours. This is my breaks reminder to take my breaks every few minutes, just to give my eyes a little break. I just look away for a few seconds, and that allows me to work longer hours. So okay. So that as you can see, this is actually looks like a very simple template, but when you start digging in, you can see that it can get very, very complex. So Motion not only allows you to do motion graphics, but you can also do some development and some programming. So when you download this template, when you make the purchase, or if you're a member, you'll be receiving an early release to this template. You can actually go inside of Motion and start looking at everything that I had done to get this template to work. So this controls the X and the Y, because it, you know, that everything has to move with the scale on both the X and the Y parameter. Let's see. I was going to add an on-screen control, but I decided against it just because I have text and the text moves around different places. And the on-screen control does not work very well when you have text, because it makes it hard to select the text. So I decided not to, and I just programmed all the parameters for position and scale inside of the inspector. And that's pretty much it. Every animation that you see is done using keyframes. I mean, not keyframes, sorry, is using behaviors and not keyframes. And as you can see here, here's the ending animation. You can see this is causing the bounce at the end. It's controlling the bounce at the end. And all this is done with behaviors. And if I open up, actually this one right here, as I open up here, you can see these behaviors are controlling this animation using mathematical terms. First thing I do is I add a ramp to kind of control where the ramp happens. And then what I add is the oscillate, which the oscillate is pretty much oscillates the parameter, whatever parameter I selected. And as you can see, it's ramping and oscillating. And then I added the logarithmic, which that what it does, it tapers down or actually brings down the oscillate over time. And that's what creates this behavior. And really the trick to this is not only getting the settings right, but also the positioning of where each one starts to happen. So as you can see, the ramp begins at that time, but the oscillate starts earlier. So you see the numbers between 430 and 453. So I start the oscillate early. So it starts the little bit bounce. And I also start the logarithmic around that same time of the oscillate. So it starts bringing, that's why the first oscillate is higher than the second one, because that logarithmic is bringing it down. And then I end that logarithmic right around there. And then the ramp finishes it off. So that's how the bounce at the end happens. It's tricky to figure out at first, but using these this keyframe viewer animation graph, it actually allows me to see and control how everything's supposed to happen. So as you can see, if I want I can adjust the ramp here, and if I want to be faster or slower, I can adjust this. And the cool thing about using keyframes is that if I want to, I can actually publish this ramp and offset and publish that, and now the user can control the speed it flies out. So I try to be careful not to publish too many things. I don't want Motion or inside of Final Cut to be too complicated, but you can always open up Motion and go in there and publish more things as you like. And that's pretty much it. Just wanted to give you an update. I was going to give an update every step of the process, but I started this project and deleted it about 3 or 4 times, just trying to get it to work right until I finally got it working the way I wanted to. So so in the future, I will try to share every step of the process, but I did not want to share the things that did not work. I thought that would just be a waste of all our times. So anyway, all members will be receiving this release early, and then I'll be releasing it to everybody else, to the public, right after that. So please let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions or any comments or any feedback, let me know. Hope you enjoyed the little behind the scenes and the little sneak peek. If you have any questions, contact me. Thank you for your time and have an amazing day.